What is the lament? A simple question with a complex answer. Some say it's a technological threshold that humanity reached that went wrong. Others say it's life inside a black hole. And some would even dare say that we persist within a computer. And the lament is that of corruption of data. In reality, you are the lament. The lament is a psychological phenomenon, not a technological one. Think about it for a moment. Attempts to understand it, breach it, defeat it, and comprehend it have been leading nowhere for 10,000 years. Why is this? If it was a normal, natural part of the universe, then it could be understood, given enough time. And what if it's not? What if it is the world of misunderstandings, of the meaninglessness coming into reality itself? Well, that would mean that attempts to understand and even categorize it would be minimal at best. The world was formed from the chaos, a part of mankind's collective unconscious. We, through our own follies and vanity, gave birth to the lament all those years ago. It was only when a resonator powerful enough to give some sort of order to the orderless, to give meaning to the new world, was life able to persist. You are the lament. Every time you fight against yourself, every time you don a false mask, every moment your shadow takes over, whether by projection or by fear, every moment you value your own ego and vanity over your soul and totality, all of those moments make the lament that much stronger. And we've seen this is true with Leviathan. All that fear and despair made it stronger. The tools and people made by a creator speak deeply about who they are. And should we not link Leviathan to its creator, to that of the lament itself? The Renodians tell us that the lament is connected to mankind, this large, ever-present symbol of despair, obliteration, grief, of sorrow, of lament. The lament and wave-worn phenomena are a very deep and complex subjects. However, they are also barely understood by the people inside of Solaris 3. Cristoforo, however, seems to have the most apt understanding of the lament, and furthermore, seems to still know about Yuno and her events.
I should have descended as I had written. Yet, the priestess's arrow, fired at the cost of her very existence, sent the story veering off script.
Implying he may be connected to the lament in some manner. Perhaps each member of the Fraxidus are connected in some way. Death with the Grand Architect lies with Cristoforo, grief with Verlova, and chaos with Scar. That theory, however, is best left for a different video. The lament began not because humanity was reaching for the stars, colonizing lunar bodies, and mining asteroids. No, it was because the collective unconscious of humanity, mankind's collective emotional and mental states, reached a point where the lament was born. This also means that being like Rover, like Shorekeeper, Augusta, Yuno, Cartethia, or even Camellia, you are in fact weakening the lament in some way. To sacrifice your ego for the self, an ultimate act of selflessness, does the lament get weaker. But what of Rover should he have defeated the lament by now? Isn't that what I just implied? No, not really. In fact, it is quite the opposite. And it points to Rover's ultimate goal, to unite humanity. This means to have humanity become greater in its totality in the collective unconscious, to overcome the fear of the lament itself, not simply by bravery, but by symbolism. And that is what Rover is, the ultimate symbol of humanity. A man who breaks, who fears, a man who feels the weight of life like anyone else, yet still chooses humanity over despair. The ultimate marks of humanity, of course, are love and hope. It is impossible to defeat the lament with one person alone, but as we saw in Renacida against Leviathan, we know that if people unite, that if the area faces their collective shadow, and succeed in defeating it, of which actual conflict is not always necessary, but because Leviathan chose violence, you may respond to the shadow with violence. The lament can be defeated in these ways. You take what happened in Renacida and apply it to humanity in its totality. The only three people who seem to be aware of this are Rover, Shorekeeper, and Cristoforo, but I'll save Cristoforo for another video. All of these aspects of the lament of the wave-worn phenomenon are because of mankind's collective unconscious. This is why you can label it, why you can study it, and why you can even understand to predict many aspects of the broader phenomena itself, but you can't truly understand it. I think a quote from Satoru Gojo in Jujutsu Kaisen fits perfectly here. You can make a flower bloom, you can admire it, but you can't tell that flower, I want you to understand me. It applies beautifully here. In essence, we created the lament, we can apply scientific vigor to it, but we can't tell the lament to reveal its secrets to us. The lament as part of both the material and mental planes may be higher and more dangerous than we initially realized it to be, with Leviathan calling out a Baraxis betraying them and apparent translations in other languages giving the implication that other Threnodians, Tacit Discords, or Echoes have betrayed the Threnodians. I don't think it's too far-fetched to say that perhaps some societies integrating their shadow in a more constructive manner, turning it into an ally as opposed to an enemy. It seems that not all Threnodians or aspects of the wave-worn phenomenon, and therefore the lament, are evil, and some of them may be able to aid and guide humanity in some manner. So what does this mean for the lament itself? What is it really? Well, the lament is you. The lament is a psychological phenomena that broke into reality, causing the chaos of man's mind to overlap with the world. More accurately, however, the lament are the darker and more chaotic sides of mankind's mind, and of the collective unconscious. Fortes act more as a positive aspect, for example, and the wave-worn phenomenon is a label for it in its totality, the good and bad. The lament is perhaps not necessarily mankind's collective shadow, but it is most certainly its darker, corrupted, fearful, and distasteful aspects of man we prefer to overlook. And as for how chaos connects to it, think of life like this. There is a sphere, and this sphere represents chaos, the concept of infinity itself infinite in every way, of meaning, non-meaning, possibility, and impossibility. From this sphere grows various different forms of flora. Some grow into flowers with petals, and others into tall trees with branches. Each form of flora, each line, each branch is a timeline. They all share roots in the chaos. This also means that each timeline is connected not in a traditional past, present, future sense, nor even a branching sense, but in the sense that they are all shared through existence as a concept within the mind. This means a branch or leaf could have fallen and caused this mental overlap, or it could mean that chaos had a headache of sorts. Think of chaos like an ocean, and at times in an ocean the waves weather and storms brew. One of them rippled into the tree that is Wuthering Waves. A convergence of chaos weathering bark and branches bending and the soil changing, and we have a psychological phenomena that can transform the world completely and be completely unbound by scientific understanding even within its own world. A creation of our own making by potentially causing this headache within the chaos itself. So, will you allow vanity and ego to consume you? Or will you face the parts of you that you fear? The projections you place upon others, and the ideas and conversations that are difficult, or even an antithesis to your very being? Or will you stand there, with all your pride and vanity, and petrify like all those before you in the wake of the lament? There is no escape, except for within, and therefore, there is no safe haven except for within. Only by finding the inner life can you live in the outer. Only by finding your inner life can you live within the lament. Thus is the essence of true free will. And a special thanks to channel supporters: Black Shores Guardian, Ice Dragon, Wandering Rovers, Takoyaki Lover, Istalor, and Chris Jenkins. Donators: Icy Sincere 13, Ozzy, and Frosty Frog OG.